All right, everybody, next step in the process is to coat it. So what I'm going to use today is my go-to Crystal Serum Light, followed by EXO V5. I've got two towels. One is what the rag company calls a creature towel. I call it my wax removal towel, but I like a higher pile towel for the first initial wipe, and then a lower pile towel for the second wipe. And we'll see, I may or may not, depending on how this goes, use two more. So one for CSL, one for EXO. I've got these gloves, which are from a company called SAS. I've tried lots and lots of gloves, not every glove, but lots of gloves. I'm not really a glove aficionado, but these are really good. These are a 7 mil, they're called Astro Grip from SAS. I've tried to carry them, but I don't know what the heck. They're just kind of hard to nail down, my company. And these aren't quite as good as their original ones. They were sourcing them from a company in Australia that I guess something happened legally with the import or something like that. They're a little bit small, which I prefer them a tiny bit small so they don't flop around in my hands. But these tend not to sweat with these, which is good. And so again, nothing remarkable, but they have like a little hex pattern that works well to give you a decent grip. What else we got to talk about here? So in previous episodes, I had, so this morning I went and did some extra work wiping down all the jams. You know what I probably need to do is let's clean out the jams here in the engine bay as well. And while we're at it, let's wipe our hyper dressing flat before I get into that. I do want to polish this. I also want to try some CarPro Dark Side on the tires. You know, I should probably get this thing on the trickle charger. It's been sitting here for many days. So let's do that now. I want to show you something as well that I think you might be interested in. So we have these for air hose reels, vacuum reel, power cord reel, and then your trickle charger, which I think is the most important out of all of these. But this is from CoSpec, which is, this is my little Porsche charger. And so this is a microfiber cover for your cord, your power cord. So that way, when you're connected and it's drooping, it doesn't touch the paint, which is nice. So I'm going to take this guy, plug it in. It'll probably sit here for another couple of days for the coating cures. And I don't want to nuke this brand new battery I just bought, which is really expensive. I think it was $400 or something for this kit. So this little guy will sit here and not be in the way. I'm going to grab one of the towels I was using. So I've found you don't really get as good of a cleaning of the polish residue until you do your first wash. But I do like to kind of wipe out the polish dust so that way I can get a decent bond with my coating in all these areas. Because I do want to coat all the jams. So all the jams I couldn't polish out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do EXO on the jams, not CSL, because there's going to be CSL left over, CSL EXO left over on all my door jams and trunk jams and all of that. So the CSL likely isn't going to bond. So I'm going to just do the EXO step. I didn't polish out the door jams and other areas like that. So after a hyper dressing application, all it takes, if you don't want it to be shiny, so I diluted my hyper dressing 4 to 1. All it takes is just a little surface level wipe down here, get any of the extra sheen off of stuff. So it takes 2 minutes just to get that extra gunk, extra little bit of shininess off the surface. Well, that's basically it. And you have a nice satin looking finish, because you have some areas that hold water that will look a little shinier than you might like. Okay, that's it. I do have a leaf in that little jam area I want to get rid of. It's like a little baby oak leaf. I need a little screwdriver here. This will work. I can see it. So again, we'll do all these jams at the end. I don't like this. Will have to get cleaned out after the first wash. Just like a little bit of polish dust. So I have a bunch of these auto fiber little pads. So I'm going to use these. I think, does this fit long ways on this? Yeah. It fits best like this. So this CSL bottle I've used. I found all you have to do is just look in it, make sure there isn't anything floaty in there or any whiteness, and like white splotchiness in the clear product. As long as you don't have that, you're good to go. So I'm going to take, prime it a bit. And then go to work. So, application of this. Those of you who've been around a long time have seen me do this a bunch. Super, super, super easy. Couldn't be any easier, and I don't think it could be any slicker. And then the combination of this looks very wax-like. Which is my preference. Slick and wax-like. And then it's a wipe on, wipe off, but you have plenty of time to work with this. Like when you saw me do the Raptor, I did much, much smaller sections. When you're doing CSU, Crystal Serum Ultra, which is the pro only version, you got to move fast. So you have to do much smaller sections. On this, I can do pretty much the whole darn hood if I wanted to, which I probably will here. Because the cure time is very forgiving. You got plenty of time. So I'm going to go one direction, come back the other. Just to make sure I get even coverage. And I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to do this. So I feel like the trim, I don't know if it's going to accept the CSL here because we didn't polish the trim. And I'm sure that there's some product still left on it. But the trim generally, I find, can take the product, even though we weren't able to polish the other off. I'm going to take and do my initial wipe with a little towel, or sorry, the high pile towel, and then secondary wipe with the other towel. There's not a lot, there's much more secondary wiping product left over with EXO, not as much with CSL. And then EXO V5 is a much better product. Doesn't push around as much as V4 did. The other thing I would suggest, if you're doing this outside or not climate controlled, or if you have lots of humidity, I wouldn't do that big of an area. Or actually, it might even be the opposite. If you didn't have humidity, you don't want the product to set up. There's no reason to, you did all this work polishing the surface, prepping the surface. There's no reason to risk it. So I'd encourage you to err on the side of caution so you don't get the coating set up on there and then you gotta frickin' polish it off. Okay, looks pretty good. Man, slick is off the charts, man. It's so good. So I'll break this up over the course of the next few days here. I'll break up this, or over the course of the day, I should say. Man, I'm not speaking very well here today. But I will, I do have a leadership call with my leadership team at 10, so it's 8:30 now. So I'll likely get through the CSL step. And then I'll just, because of my timing, I'll be able to let it set up and cure and then do the CSU, or sorry, the EXO V5 afterward. Yeah, I don't like this. This thing's too big. But I found that you can put, you know, the Gtechniq guys, I don't know if there's, I'm sure there's some data behind this, but that the application, you either let it cure, so give it time, or don't give it time, just go right to it, you know, within the hour, or give it 3 hours plus to set up. I'm not sure if that's backed by anything or if that's just conjecture, but so, in other words, put the CSL on immediately, put the EXO on, or put the CSL on, wait several hours, then do your EXO. I just tend to do it whenever the heck I have time to do it. So for the little hand application, I like the smaller one. I don't like the, I've tried all these darn pads and applicators, and I know lots of you like to use a big foam, big sponge, but I don't like it. So from here on out, I'm making a pact with my Evo to keep the darn thing dialed. Don't let it, if I did have to park it outside for some reason, just wash it. Don't let it sit for days on end. Baking in the sun, getting all jacked up. Actually, I don't like any of these applicators by hand. I'm gonna get my suede back out. It's like sliding off of my glove here. Not staying very organized. So another major thing I want to get done is to get the Swiss tracks pulled, scrubbed, and reinstalled. You know, we did all this construction in here, and so the white tiles aren't so white anymore, and the gray tiles are just gooped up with. It still looks great on, you know, especially on camera, but in person it's a little dirtier than I like it to be, and so I'm gonna fix that. I'll be sure to video that for you, show you how much dirt is underneath. Now I've vacuumed it a couple of times, mainly just to show the darn vacuum. But you know, we have lots of concrete dust and debris, and oh, that's another thing. Don't let your towel sit on the painted surface if you don't want to end up with a coating blob. Nice and slick here. This is good, people. This is real good. Living the coating dream. I got my darn power cord now messing with me. Yeah, that's what I thought. These blue, gosh, I'm struggling with my darn applicators here today. These blue ones are junk. They leave all kinds of lint. Let me just finish this here and then I'll get a CarPro out. Tried all kinds of other cheaper suede applicators, and the CarPro one is the only one. All right, so I'm gonna go around, do this CSL application. I'll come back to you on the EXO application. Kind of see how this goes. I'm putting the video together as I go. But we'll see how the episodes kind of come together. And then my next polish I'll do a little differently, where this one I wanted to do old school, capture the whole darn thing, let you skip around however you want. Maybe the next one I'll have waba shoot so we can get some really great angles. We'll see. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Well, I didn't make my Monday deadline, considering it's Thursday at like 3 o'clock. So, but you know, enjoying the process here. So I'm doing EXO V5, and I'm working my way around the car here. So coming to the last section, just to finish the job with you. So it's a single layer. So first layer was CSL, second layer is EXO V5. The original EXO was multi-layer, so you really wanted to put 2 layers on. This to me is what gives the wax look, that kind of deeper depth, helps with water behavior a little bit, I guess. And then of course, you know, longevity. But this is what makes everything looks like a wax, which I like. This is why I like this coating. You know, when I was editing the first half of this video, the CSL half, I got to thinking about, you know, and I'm just as likely as anybody to want to chase new stuff, but you know, most of the new stuff I feel like is there's like this thing in detailing where you have chops, and then you have there's really two ways that the products are created. One is through like OE types, like Gtechniq or Built Hamber or P&S. You know, there aren't a lot of them, but they're the ones, CarPro, they're the ones I tend to gravitate toward. Now, they all have to be blended, they all have to be chemically mixed somewhere. And so, like in the case of Griot's Garage, Jolie is the head chemist, and they have a team of chemists. And then, you know, Nick Griot is very heavily involved in the product development side and sort of choosing what products get made. And you can tell he really enjoys it and really likes that. And then you have companies that actually, like Sonax, that from what I understand, they're like a larger chemical manufacturer. Now, the problem I have with detailing in general is everyone's so darn secretive. But, you know, I've been to McGuire's, I've been to different places. Where else have I been? I've been to Optimum. You know, I've been to places where it's an actual, you know, Griot's Garage, where they're actually making the chemicals. They're making them there. Notice how I haven't been to the other places, the other brands that all of you enthusiasts tend to get kind of real enthralled by. Even ones like sometimes like McKee's, you know, he's not mixing up crap. He just hired a blender and tried to put together a product line and kind of got lucky with N914. And that, you know, that happens with a lot of products where, you know, the guy's making them, or the guy's buying them from the actual maker, like me. You know, a drying aid is, I don't frickin' make it. It's made by B&B. And we just got lucky finding the product. And, you know, OG tire dressing. So I have a tendency to prefer, there's two things that I need to see. I need to see in order to be, you know, in order to be interested in a product, to even want to mess with it. The first thing would be the OE part, you know, going to Griot's Garage, seeing them actually make, where they make it, how they make it, who makes it, and why, you know, so then you have a good idea. Same thing with, like I've seen, even though Dr. Caducci doesn't let anybody in his lab, I was able to peek through the window. You know, there's a lab there, you know. Every time I talk to Pete Hamber from Built Hamber, he's in a frickin' lab coat in the lab, and he's not putting on. So that's the one, you know, that's my tendency, is to prefer to use products from people like that, where they've actually done, you know, part of the reason why I like, you know, Built Hamber traceless so much and touchless so much is because I know that there is scientific data behind it. I'm not like in the data, right? I'm not a scientist. I'm a use the product guy. I feel like I'm smart enough to be dangerous. I know enough, and I can, you know, hold a conversation or stay in a conversation with a subject matter expert, because I really enjoy this process and I want to understand it. Father? Yes, sir, ma'am?
Can you open this?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, these are hard to open.
It's because your clothes on.
Yeah. It's real.
Are you going?
Yep. God dang. I might have to get the channel locks out. This is a real tough one, G. There we go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye, Bob.
So again, I prefer those companies. I don't know if Gtechniq's mixing it up in their own lab, but I know that they have a lab. And I know that they're working on products, and then they probably very likely have a contract manufacturer that makes the product, but to their chemical specifications. Same thing with CarPro. You know, Avi doesn't mix up the chemicals himself. But then you have companies like Angel Wax that, they have a chemist on staff where they're making stuff. So I have a tendency to prefer those companies, because when I'm, like, for example, when I'm using Built Hammer, even over Koch, so Koch Chemie has a bunch of pre-washes that seem to be good. A lot of people seem to like them. But I feel like they haven't invested as much time, energy, effort in the background, and so even if a Koch pre-wash got accidentally performed better, I'm having this tendency with Optimum No Rinse. There's all these companies that have come out with something to copy that, and I think it's incumbent upon the originator to stay ahead of the game of the copiers. But I think that, where am I going with this? I think that, I have a tendency to trust not just my use case and how I'm using the product, not my actual in the field use, but there's some microscopic stuff happening on a level that I'm unaware of with most products. So I'm going to have a tendency that if I can't easily prove it, I'm going to have a tendency to follow the people that I know that are transparent, the people that I find to be more trustworthy, the people that are the originators, the ones that actually have chemical backgrounds and stuff like that. Now, there are instances like, say, Shine Supply. Jeremy's not a chemist. Jeremy's a detailer, at heart. Now he's a business owner, right? So he owns a couple of detailing studios, and he has a great relationship. So he has inside access with the folks at B&B Blending. He's one of the more early brands to work with them. I guess not earliest, but in the last, say, decade or so. And then Jeremy has a detailing. He has an army of detailers, like real deal professional detailers that really follow him and follow his advice. And then he also has his own detailing testing grounds. So, and then he has a great relationship with Chris at B&B. And so he's able to sort of maximize in his line the products that are coming out of B&B Blending. I get that same sort of vibe from Armor and Bradley. I know Bradley. I know that he's extremely discerning. And so, I'm using his wheel coating. Him and DJ have developed a great product. And some of that is expertise and know what to ask for, but some of it is luck, getting the right chemist and the right chemical combination and all of that together. But I know the story. And so what I'm finding in the current marketplace, there's a bunch of stuff coming out and people making claims that it's better, but we're missing the real story. And if I can't discern the real story, see, here's a common thing that I've experienced throughout the last decade or so of getting really immersed into the behind the scenes of this industry, if you want to call it that, in washing cars. And I've seen 3 or 4 waves of the new hot thing come out, or the new hot retailer, or the new hot personality become the in vogue thing, or this person comes out with their own product line. I've seen it happen dozens of times. One of the originals was Ammo NYC, Larry's product line, the ammo product line, which is great branding. At the time that he came out with it, I think that he had a few competitive advantages. He had a few products. I don't know this, but I'm pretty sure that Larry's products were made by somebody like Warner or something like that. And then he's kind of asking for things kind of like Jeremy is, Jeremy from Shine Supply, where you ask the chemist, I'd like this to have a few more suds, or smell this way, or look that way. But in general, like Hydrate, you kind of catch lightning in a bottle. And then as coatings took over and waxes were no longer the thing, because they didn't perform as well, then, Hydrate lost its footing, and that was the one major product that I really loved that I was using from him. And then, ever since hasn't really had anything, because again, McKee's has I think one great product, and that's it. And then there's a lot of other brands that don't have any great products. They just have they may have a few decent ones. But what I've noticed, and this is, I'm just kind of thinking about this for myself, as I'm one of you. I'm a well-educated consumer. With, again, I could be a professional detailer if I wanted to head down that path, but that would, I think, would be not the best use of my time. So, there's been, start of AutoKeek and Detailed Image, and Detailer's Domain, and they had their run, and then now you have newer, better stories that come about to kind of supplant them, and then they sell off. Same thing with products and brands. Meguiar's and Adams, and brands and products come and go. And a lot of it oftentimes has to do with they sort of upgrade or make their way out of the prosumer space into the, because there's the old adage, sell to the masses, live with the classes. The general consumer product, or the general consumer focus is, from a business perspective, is a smarter move than the professional focus. And so, you kind of have to jump the shark, and Griot's Garage is very admirable. Now, the Griot story, I think, is different than others, because Richard had kind of already made it, from what I understand. And his parents and his family had a very successful business prior to, it was really his passion project that he was kind of side hustling, and so he was well funded and had the ability to do things like make a new sprayer, make a new bottle, things like that. And then they don't have a need to sell the company off or take it, to where, chemical guys kind of had to take theirs, or Adam had to take his, in order to get, out from underneath I can relate to this, the debt of payroll, and that constant hustle where you're trying to stay ahead of the game. So, but there's been, companies that have come and gone, and there's like a new hot story, and the things that I always found not very interesting were the new hot story that's missing the transparency. Either they're generally missing the transparency, and they're missing the chops. And so we have, there's probably a dozen new interesting stories that have, kind of taken footing, that very clearly won't last the test of time. They'll come and go just like the rest of them. They'll get a bunch of money from people. They'll sell a bunch of mediocre products. But the general theme of all of these companies is, man, we've like cracked the code. They don't know this. They believe this. Because I've met many of them and talked to many of them. They believe this, that, we've cracked the code. And we're going to be very transparent and share with you all the details. And they believe it, and they mean it. And but they're a little too simple and a little too into what they're doing specifically to even recognize that what they've done or what they're doing has already been done before. Many, many times. And so what ends up happening is we end up with a new brand that's the same old. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the new brands, but you guys, the consumer, gets all hot and bothered. You get all excited, like this is going to be new and better, and really it's kind of the same old, And then if those naive, practitioners, entrepreneurs get lucky, they can hit on something. And they always have a different story, you know. Again, Larry's the originator. He has a story. You know, I was an intern on Wall Street, and I decided to start doing the car club thing with Matt Farah, and then they, built, and he sort of headed down the professional path and detailed cars for a while, and then, came out with a pretty cool brand that still is very viable today for a core audience. So, I got caught up in that as well. You're going to chase, man, this is awesome. I don't know any better, so I'm just going to buy all these products and test them out. And, I really loved seeing them on the shelf, and some of them performed pretty well. And we have, it seems like every year there's another couple of stories where, we're better than CarPro, we're better than Meguiar's, we're better than the existing products, and we have a different story, and we're making the best products, but yet they're all the same thing. They're missing, for me to purchase, they're missing, Gtechniq, an originator, an OE, P&S, OE, an originator, original, product manufacturer, B&B blending, Griot's Garage, which by the way, didn't know how deep and how sophisticated Griot's Garage was on their chemicals. I'd assumed that they just had them made somewhere and maybe made a few of them on their own or mixed them up, but I didn't realize that they're a full, chemical manufacturer. So that, to me, if I'm going to use products, yes, I may be able to get a good result with that just relabeled product. Shoot, I've got 2 of them myself. And I just can't find any Griot's Garage or Gtechniq that makes one better. If Gtechniq makes a better tire dressing, I'd rather use that. If CarPro makes a better tire dressing, I'd rather use that. Same thing with drying aid. I haven't found anybody that has done a better job than B&B Slipstream that we've been using for quite a while. But on a coating, I see people jumping around all over the place, and you're talking about water beading, and you're talking about this virtue or that virtue, but I'm just not interested unless I know where's it coming from, who's making it, because I know, I know that I'm not able to make a coating. I know that there's only certain manufacturers in the world, and I would guess that, so I'm missing a little bit of transparency on this Gtechniq, but I've seen the empirical data. I've read the articles and read the documents, and have spoken in detail about this product and why and how and the testing that they do, and I just feel like if you're buying and you're searching for a product to use, I'm going to be much more inclined to chase an OE or to chase a original idea person with transparency or an actual manufacturer. Right? And so most of the products that I'm using, I really understand. And then I'm not easily swayed. I want to be. I wish I could be. I'm just not. So this doesn't make me better or worse. It's just that I'm not very easily swayed by the new hot thing that everybody thinks is the best because it does this or that better. So what I'm getting at in my long diatribe here as I'm trying to reason this out with you is that, I think about this all the time. Like, I'm using CSL EXO. Why am I doing this? There's got to be something better by now. But CSL EXOs continue to be modified and improved. And I've tried a bunch of other stuff, and I just haven't found anything I like better. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that's come out that's missing one of those 2 elements, which is an originator, an original idea person with, transparency. Where's it coming from? Who's doing it? How you doing it? What's the process? So I'd encourage, if anybody's watching this, Bradley or, Jeremy, or, to continue to, don't be afraid to share who's making it, where you're making it, why you're making it, because they're not you. There's only one you, right? So I was listening to this about Naval. You can have people that attempt to copy, but if they're not you, they can never copy you as well as you could do you, because there's only one you. And so I really appreciate that from brands when they, I understand there's a level, there's only so far you can go without, giving away all your secrets. But I would err on the side of, transparency instead of pretending or thinking you're being transparent. Actually be transparent, and then that will make me want to try your stuff. Me or other people, the proverbial me, the person that's in his garage loving this process that you want to buy your stuff. So that's a wrap on the coating. I've got the whole thing done. The two steps. I did all the jams. So remember, I did EXO on all the jams. I didn't do CSL because the jams I didn't polish, and the jams, the coatings was still sort of active. So I was able to put another layer on top of this. Next video, I want to mess around with some, speaking of OEs, I want to try CarPro Dark Side. And then I want to try one side with just dark side and another side with dark side topped with OG tire dressing that a follower had suggested. And then I want to do the windows too, or the windshield with H2Go. So we'll do that next video, and then I have another video on just vacuuming and cleaning out the interior. So the Evo's coming together though. I'm going to finish it up here probably today or tomorrow, and then my plan is to take this over to Bruce and Martha's house, leave it there, put it on the charger for a little while, get the Bronco in here, get that thing dialed. Next week, Mike and I are going to work on the M3, getting that dialed. So the M3 and the Evo will go over to Bruce and Martha's house and kind of hang out there. And then the Evo will eventually go to HQ because my E92 doesn't fit. And it was $37,000 to redo the doors. So the Evo will be my car up at HQ. The M3 will kind of be in collector storage, if you will. My GT3 will stay here, and then I'll have the Bronco here, and then maybe we'll get a golf cart. I also have Joe Pachette's garage that I could park the GT3 at if I needed to. So I have some room to move some cars around, especially when the Amiras get here. I'm going to need some space to move stuff around. But that means I don't need to sell this. If somebody wants to buy this car, I'd probably sell it, but I do like it a lot. I wouldn't mind hanging on to it. So anyway, see you on the next episode.